Yo, what's going on, everybody? This is Dylan Talk Sports. My name is Dylan. In today's video, what you're going to be seeing is we're going to be covering the NFL rookie quarterbacks and kind of discussing how I think they're going to do for this upcoming season. Now, obviously, I'm not going to get through every single quarterback because there was like 15 different quarterbacks drafted throughout the entire 2023 NFL draft. I'm going to just do the basic quarterbacks, the important ones, the Bryce Young, the CJ Stroud, and the Anthony Richardson. I'll talk a little bit about Will Levis a little bit because they were the main kind of first round / important quarterbacks that were taken in the draft. But overall, those three quarterbacks that I named, Stroud, Young, and Richardson, they're the three that are actually going to be starting this year. So by the end of today's video, I'm going to be pretty much giving you guys my opinion on if I think they're going to be a successful quarterback, a Pro Bowler, will they end up with some Super Bowls in their career, will they be a legend by the end of the career. I'm going to give my full analysis, review some things, talk it over, and give my opinion by the end of today's video. Before we go any further, if you're going to enjoy, drop a like, and without further ado, let's get into it. So let's go ahead and start off with the stat line of each of the quarterbacks, how they did in the preseason. I'm going to put it up on screen so you guys can see it as well. But it says here, Bryce Young, he went about 14 for 24, and this is across all three preseason games, just so you know. 14 for 24, 58% completion percentage, obviously. About a $129 yards, had a tutty. Nothing too crazy. I mean, he wasn't really given that many reps. I believe the first game he got one drive. The second game, I think he got like 2 drives. And then obviously in the third game, I think he got the whole first quarter. They're not really going to rush these guys so much. They won't, because they know they're going to be the starters. So they're going to try to be careful with them. Next up, the next overall pick, second, was CJ Stroud. He went about 11 for 20 with 55% completion percentage with about 89 yards. Had a tutty. Did have that INT against the Patriots that week one. I did already make a video on that. That one kind of sucked for him. But still pretty average stat line. He's still developing. But we did see in the game against the Saints that he played in the week 3 preseason game, he did play pretty damn well. That game he only had 2 passes. I think he went 2 for 4 in that game with like 16 yards. Nothing crazy, but the 2 passes that he did complete were some pretty good passes. One was a touchdown. One was a nice little staying in the pocket. Don't freak out. Get the completion. And then one of the incompletion passes was, I believe, he had a back shoulders type throw, but he ended up having to overthrow it. And he almost dropped this ball like a dime in the breadbasket. It was a really nice throw. And then Anthony Richardson, he didn't do that well, I think, in the preseason. He went about 13 for 29, about $145 on the yards, 44% completion percentage. Had an interception, no touchdowns. Now that we have the stats out of the way, let's kind of go through and break each quarterback down for what they're good at, what they're bad at, kind of the description. I have pulled up here Pro Football Focus if you want to check this out as well. I'll put the link down in the description so you can go down and read it yourself. But they kind of go in depth and just kind of describing what the quarterbacks are like whenever they were drafted, what their potential can be, how they kind of describe their abilities, and what kind of type of quarterbacks they can develop into. So let's go ahead and start off with Bryce Young. Obviously the number 1 overall pick. Everybody came into the draft saying this guy is magical talent. This guy is generational. He's going to be the next big thing. He's going to be the guy that you need to have. His only question mark is obviously the physicality of the NFL. Is his body going to be able to withstand the hits? If he gets sacked, if he gets thrown on the ground, is his body going to be able to take the punishment? Because I believe his stat line is, correct me if I'm wrong, it's like 5'10", about 205, 210 pounds. What is that man going to do at 5'10" when a defensive lineman, maybe let's say 6'6", 330 pounds, comes charging in and just runs his ass over? I'll tell you, you get a Bryce Young pancake. Now, when you look at Bryce Young in college, what was he pretty much good at? He was good at escaping the pocket, keeping his eyes downfield. He made some wicked throws, sidearms, over-the-top passes. He had a really nice arm. For him being a little small, he could still make some deep-ass throws, some 50 to 60-yard bombs. And another thing that he was great at was he was good at just limiting the interceptions, limiting the fumbles. I think he fumbled maybe once or twice in his first year. The second year, I'm not exactly sure. Overall, when it comes to Bryce Young, if he's going to succeed in the NFL, like I said, he needs to get his body right. I think he needs to honestly get up to like about 225. If his height, if he's done growing and he's at 5'10", obviously there's nothing he can do about that. But when it comes to his weight, if he can bulk up some muscle, maybe get to like 215, 220, get a little more muscle on him, you need to be ready when those boys coming at you to hit him. I'm telling you, when he gets sacked that first time and he gets the wind knocked out of him, he's going to wish he put on some muscle. Number 2, honestly, this is more of a Frank Reich, the head coach thing for the Carolina Panthers. He just needs to develop Bryce Young right. He needs to develop him, make sure he understands the offense, make sure Bryce is not being in a position where it's first 10, throw the ball deep. Oh, the guy didn't catch the ball. Okay, 2nd and 10. Obviously, the defense knows you're probably going to run the ball here. Let's run the ball. Wait, crap, now it's 3rd and 10, 3rd and 11. don't put Bryce in those kind of situations. Those are just the two things that if they're going to develop him right, he obviously needs to be developed in a way of where he can understand this offense and get into just quick passes, run the ball. I feel like that's what Bryce Young likes to do. And if he can stick to that kind of stuff and they can excel at it, the Carolina Panthers have a good shot of possibly winning the division this year. Now let's move on to the next quarterback, CJ Stroud. What is he good at? Basically everything but running the ball. And this is coming from an Ohio State fan. I watched the guy for 2 years straight. There was plenty of times where he had a window of opportunity to just run the ball and he never would take it. Now I understand in the Georgia college football playoff game, he had to run quite a bit in there because there was getting a lot of pressure and he was able to escape. He was able to move around. And a lot of NFL scouts said that saved his draft stock. Because after the Michigan loss, people were wondering, is this guy just going to be one of these type of people where you need to have the elite of the elite offensive line in order for this guy to succeed? But then we saw what happened with him in that playoff game where he was able to, if the offensive line collapsed, he was able to kind of shift, move left, right, get around him, still keep his eyes downfield and throw the ball if need be. And on when it gets to crucial times being, it could be a third down and long. And if he needs to run and there is a window there, he will take it if he has to. It just seems like with CJ Stroud, his big thing is he's going to get close to that line of scrimmage, but if he sees a window opening for throwing, he's going to throw it first. Even if there's like 20 yards of green grass right in front of him, but he sees a window kind of slightly opening up across the field, he's going to throw it first. He ain't going to run. Now with the Houston Texans, and I forgot to mention this with the Bryce Young thing, Bryce Young has some weapons. He has Adam Thielen. That is I would say more of a high-end number 2 receiver when it comes to his career in the NFL for Adam Thielen. And then he has a couple of rookie guys as well. Offensive line is not that great, but it will develop maybe over the next few years. When it comes to CJ Stroud's point of view, he went into probably one of the worst situations you could possibly ask for. The one thing I will say that is good for the Houston Texans is I believe they did to get the right coach. DeMeco Ryans, he is the right coach for that team. And the reason why I say that is because when it comes to having a rookie quarterback, especially within a bad organization, you need to have a coach in there that's going to come in and build a culture within the team along with your quarterback. Now, I want people to go ahead and understand now. Is CJ Stroud going to go out there and become an MVP caliber talent right now? Hell fucking no. I got a better chance of going out there on the field and running the ball for 1 yard than that happening. And I'm slow as shit when it comes to running, so there's no way. Now, do I think CJ Stroud is going to struggle quite a bit? And all these quarterbacks, they're going to struggle somewhat if they're starting right off the rip. They're going to go out there, they're going to throw some interceptions, they're going to make some bad plays. Every single one of these quarterbacks is going to make at minimum 10 interceptions this year, probably fumble the ball a few times. And with that team that the Houston Texans have, like I said, no offensive line. Like, when I mean no offensive line, I mean, like, they should be calling me to come play offensive line. That's how bad they are. The receivers, the last things they had was Brandon Cooks, and they traded him off to the Dallas Cowboys, so no receiving core. The only bright thing they might have is their tight end, Dalton Schultz, from the Cowboys, which Dalton Schultz, I want to say, he's an average tight end. He excelled within that Cowboys offense. He actually played pretty well over there. Hopefully, maybe he can be for now, going to be CJ Stroud's number 1 target for the season. But I think with the Houston Texans, what they need to do going into next year, it's going to be a funny thing to look at, but hopefully within maybe next year's draft, if the Texans are dog shit, do they look at if they're up there in the number 2, number 3 overall pick? Caleb Williams obviously is going to go number 1. But what happens at number 2? Do the Texans get that number 2 overall pick and go get Marvin Harrison? Get CJ Stroud, kind of like what Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase with the Cincinnati Bengals? Maybe. And now let's move on to Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson is the one that I'm not really going to talk about that much because he's a funny one. He's the kind of quarterback that everybody talks about as just being this very, very raw prospect. He doesn't really have a lot to him. He doesn't have anything that's big, flashy that he is just like the best of the best at. Does he have a big cannon arm? Yes. Can he run? Yes. Is he the best at both of those? Not really. His decision making kind of hurts him from what I've been hearing. From what I've been hearing from NFL Network and some of the analysts over there, is that if this guy was developed in the best possible way, which he has a shot to be, they have the offensive coordinator from the Philadelphia Eagles last year. He became the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts. He's going to be developing, obviously, Anthony Richardson. Who else did he develop recently? Jalen Hurts. They're saying if this guy is developed the right way, he could be maybe another Jalen Hurts. Now, I want to get one thing out of the way. I think Jalen Hurts was already pretty much a better prospect than Anthony Richardson is at this point than what Anthony Richardson is. Jalen Hurts seemed like he already kind of knew what he was doing because he was with Alabama for a couple years, and then whenever he went to Oklahoma, he was able to develop those things, get better as a quarterback over there before he eventually got drafted. Anthony Richardson still seems like he's like maybe like 2 years behind what Jalen Hurts was. So Anthony Richardson, obviously, like if he's developed, he's gonna struggle this year, maybe struggle next year, and then after that, maybe he'll start showing his signs that hey, it's time he can play some damn good quarterback. And then I know I said I was gonna break down Will Levis, but I did see the news. He's probably just gonna be a backup for the rest of his career. Tannehill is the guy, and then if Tannehill were to go down, Malik Willis is obviously gonna be the backup. So I don't think Levis is really gonna be talked about that much for the next 3 to 4 years. Now, when it comes to these guys and their careers, what can we expect? When it comes to Anthony Richardson, I can expect maybe a Pro Bowl or two, I hope. When it comes to a Super Bowl, I don't think so. When it comes to Bryce Young, Pro Bowls, for sure. Maybe an All-Pro. Rookie of the Year, I think, is really likely for him for this year. He's probably going to go get that Rookie of the Year, especially with the fact that he's going to be playing most of the time and with how bad that division is. If they can win the division, Rookie of the Year, just be handed to Bryce Young immediately. But when it comes to a Super Bowl, I don't know if I want to make that prediction. And then with CJ Stroud, obviously, I think he can. Same thing with Bryce Young. I think those two, they're the ones that are going to get some Pro Bowl votes. All-Pro, that's a tricky one. I don't know if that's going to happen. Super Bowls, again, I don't know. The Super Bowl one is the hard one because, like, someday down the road, they could end up being busts and be backups. I mean, you get a Super Bowl, even if you're a backup, you get a Super Bowl ring, even if you're just a backup quarterback. So that doesn't really count if I'm going to make a guess. But overall, I do think every one of these guys is going to have a pretty decent career. It's going to be one of these things where Anthony Richardson somehow either is going to end up being the best quarterback of the group or all these guys are going to be just busts. I just don't see a world where coming into this draft, we said Bryce Young's going to be the best quarterback we've seen behind Mahomes. CJ Stroud's going to be just like probably like another Josh Allen that doesn't run. And then Anthony Richardson is going to be like a year or two behind Jalen Hurts. I just can't see all that happening perfectly. But other than that, I wish all these guys the best of luck. I think they're all going to do fine. As long as they just do what their coaches are asking them to do and they just stay within the parameters of what they know how to do, I think they'll all have a great career. Other than that, hopefully you guys did go on to enjoy today's video. If there's anything you did disagree with or don't like about what I said, or maybe you do agree with, leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you think about anything that I said. If you went on to enjoy today's video, make sure you drop a like. It's always appreciated if you do so. And if you're new to the channel and you enjoy any of this type of stuff, whether it be NFL content, anything sports related, discussing sports talk, news, anything going on within the sports world, if it's Cleveland sports related, it'll be here on the channel. If you like that kind of stuff, make sure you subscribe. It's somewhere right here on the screen. It's free. It costs nothing. And make sure you hit that notification bell so you're notified the second I post. But without further ado, this has been Dylan Talk Sports. Have a great rest of your day. Peace.